Hi, it is so good to be seeing you again.
Good to see you.
How's your week been so far?
It's been good. I feel like it's been a lot better than I feel like even the last week was. I feel like it's just been a good week.
Well, good. That's great to hear, and especially since last week seemed to be a pretty good week for you as well. It's great to hear it's even better. So before we get started, I just wanted to ask the same kind of question that I did last week. Did anything big and positive happen for you this weekend or this week?
This week, I'm trying to think. Going over my week, I feel like I did get an interview for a new job, which I feel like that was exciting. I think I wasn't necessarily looking for a new job, but I saw like a posting for one that felt like something. It's kind of similar to what I'm doing, but like with a lot more support behind it and hopefully more money. So I feel like that was something good that happened.
Okay, yeah, that is awesome to hear. I mean, I know you've been pretty happy with, your clients that you take care of at work, but I can understand, especially with the culture of it, with you not being super close with your coworkers, that it can make you kind of want to look for a new area. And then, what kind of struggle did that happen to you this week?
I think just staying on top of tasks. I feel like it's just not been as strong as it was. I guess last week when it comes to like my work and even school, just like together, I feel like a lot of the time either one area is super strong and the other could go better, but I feel like this week it's just been kind of hard on both ends. So yeah, I feel like that's been the biggest struggle, just like staying on top of tasks.
Okay, I can totally understand that. And starting to go into some of the stuff we talked about last week, how have you been kind of implementing your desk calendar at work with that?
I've been using it a little bit. I messed it up a little bit because I did cross off a week that hadn't happened yet. So it's been a little disorganized when it comes to that. But I've definitely been using it a little bit more. And I've even been using like the online note that I have like on my computer, as well as just like sticky notes on my desk to try to like write out what I need to do. Like even today I wrote out like the number one thing I need to get done today is blah, blah, blah. So I feel like I have been using it, but I also been using kind of other things as well.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, I know feeling disorganized can kind of make it feel a little bit more just all over the place, but if you know what's going on with all your notes, then I think that's the most important part, even if it is different forms of it. So going further into some of the stuff we talked about last week, we covered all of your long-term and short-term goals. And starting with the long term, how do you think that those have really been going for you? What do you think your progress is?
Long term, I know I've talked a lot about, could you remind me of a couple of them?
Yeah, so we have building stronger connections with coworker and boss, using coping mechanisms to help prevent burnout, and then slowing down in your day-to-day life.
I think for especially like the last one, like slowing down, I think that's something that I've probably improved on the most since the beginning. I feel like especially, I know I talked about last week, just like reaching out to friends more. I feel like that has just been an area that's been going like way stronger than it was. So I think like slowing down, that's helped me slow down. Because I think beforehand I was so worried about work and school, and I just wasn't really like paying attention to my personal life. But I think since like paying more attention to it, it's gotten better. So it's definitely helped me to like kind of ease into like the day or the week and stuff like that. So I feel like that area has been well. When it comes to like my coworkers, I feel like it's been fine. Maybe nothing super drastic has improved with that. Yeah.
Okay. And then going into some of your short-term goals, we have form a daily routine. You just mentioned be more open with friends and family, that you said that's going good. And then call/meet with a therapist. How do you think those have been going?
I think, could you say the first one? Sorry, I forgot.
Form a daily routine.
Form a daily routine. I feel like that's been better. I feel like that has been okay. Nothing like super standardized that like I feel like I've been doing super like in a routine, because I have been going like back and forth between like staying at home and then staying in my apartment, depending on like the weather. And then when it comes to contacting a therapist, that's one thing I have not done yet. So I feel like for short term, that's still kind of on the to-do list.
Okay, yeah. Last week we also talked a bit about your financial stress, and especially with you not having a car and everything. How has that been affecting you this week?
It's definitely been a challenge, but it is something that like my car is ready to pick up now, so it's gonna be going away. I feel like it definitely has been a challenge, and like even last week I had like them reaching out to me, telling me to like come and like pay some more money to out of my own pocket to like so I can extend it for my rental car at least. So I think with that it's been like a little bit stressful, but knowing that it's ready to pick up, I feel like has made it like 10,000 times better.
Well, good. That is awesome to hear. I mean, just that can help alleviate some of the stuff that's on your plate. So excited for that for you. And when you've been dealing with the kind of stress from that, how have you utilized your positive coping mechanisms?
Yeah, I know I talked about TV. I haven't really used that as much this week. I feel like I've been kind of all over. But I feel like the biggest one still has just been like reaching out to friends, like getting on like a phone call, or even like reading. Reading is one thing that I have done like the past week that I feel like's been helpful. Just like because I've had a show that I've really watched or that I've really liked, so I've been reading the book that goes with the show, which I feel like kind of gives me the same excitement as it does to like sit down and watch a show because it is something similar. So I feel like that's kind of helped like alleviate some of that stress when it comes to like financial or whatever it happens to be that day.
Okay, yeah, that is awesome. So, also last week we talked about like journaling on your phone when things have gotten kind of stressful. How's that been going?
Yeah, I feel like it's not been as strong with that. When it comes to journaling on my phone, I'm definitely on my phone a lot. But I think it's maybe an area I really haven't touched on as much as I probably could. Like going forward, I think it would still be a good one to put on there because I do have a journal that I used to use pretty often, and I would even go to like coffee shops and like just sit and journal even if I wasn't with a friend or something like that. So I think that's still an area where I could like improve on because it is something that's helped me in the past.
Okay, yeah, so then that is something that we will just continue discussing as we go. And then one last question that we talked about, I believe it was last week, where you said you feel like you put a lot of pressure on yourself. What areas do you think you've put pressure on yourself this week?
This week, I think in my work, I probably put a lot of pressure on myself to like just like do the best I can with programming. I think I try a lot of the time to like do everything really well, and I think this week specifically I've just not had necessarily like the resources to do that. So definitely that, and definitely school. I feel like with it being like a halfway point and like midterms, I'm looking to like especially planning for next semester and just making sure I'm getting everything done on time because there have been assignments that I have not, so I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself to try to catch up, especially with like the busy week and having like spring break coming up. So I think those have been kind of some areas.
Okay, yeah. So with that, we're going to go into kind of discussing the main issue that we are here. So far over the course of the past few weeks, we've been talking about your increased anxiety levels and specifically really during work and stuff like that. Would it be safe to assume that that is like the main issue or problem that you're wanting to help solve for our meetings?
I would say yeah. I feel like it's definitely gotten somewhat better, but I feel like especially at work, that's just an area where I'm always worried about the next thing, so it's really easy for me to like get anxious about because sometimes it's not super structured, and I mean I know that's the way it is at a lot of like places for sure, but like yeah, sometimes I just get super anxious about it because there's just so much to do, and then like especially with like big monthly meetings, just like thinking about making sure to get everything done, and like they've extended time on a lot of our our tasks at work so that we can get everything done. So still feeling a little bit behind is kind of like, yeah, just brings more anxiety with it.
Okay, yeah. And then would it be fair to assume that or really, let me rephrase that. Do you think that a lot of that anxiety or stress is caused from this specific position that you're in now? Or do you think that if you went somewhere new, like in that interview you were talking about, that you wouldn't be as stressed?
I know, I think that's what I'm still trying to kind of understand, because I know my job, I feel like because it is the first time anyone's done it, it kind of adds a lot of stress to it. And I think the one thing that's kind of like made me motivated to maybe go somewhere else is knowing that like I don't want to like work in activities necessarily after I graduate. So thinking more so long term, I feel like relieving like some of that stress. I think maybe if I were to go somewhere else, it might I'll still have some of those stresses, but it might be different because there is more support as well. Because there's not really a structure for what I do, but in like a regular activities like environment, there definitely is. So maybe even just seeing like when I'm interviewing with somebody tomorrow, or she's interviewing me, just seeing like if like that might be a position where I'd have more support and even like activity aids, because they're literally like the backbone of activities. So because my job is doing all of that at one time, maybe if that was something where a different facility had more support, it might be something good. But it's definitely, I'd be nervous to leave because it is something I get attached to the job.
I can understand that, and I feel like it's a very normal response to it, especially when you've been there for so long and have put so much of your effort into it that it just feels natural to not want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be safe to assume then, for our general goal of our meetings, that would it be either getting more comfortable in like the position you're in so that you don't feel as stressed, or would you be wanting to just look for another job, even if it isn't the one you're interviewing for tomorrow, just still looking for a new position somewhere?
I think I could be open to probably looking for a new position, because especially at my job, outside of just not having like as much support, I think the financial aspect definitely adds some anxiety. I definitely made more other positions, and I think going into this job, I kind of assumed that it wouldn't matter, but I know at the end of the day, it's definitely something that does matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that even might be something that would make, like, looking for a new job might be an area where it might alleviate a lot of those things that are causing me to be so like anxious and stressed at my current position.
Okay. Well, then with that, we will start working on MAPS goals and action steps that we can take towards getting you to that general goal. So starting with our MAPS goals, like what do you think would be some of the first steps that you would need to take to start looking for a new position, even if it isn't the one for tomorrow?
I think just identifying what I want the position to look like. I think I know that I'm in kind of activities-esque right now, but I know that I want to be more so in case management when I graduate. So maybe looking at something, it could still be in activities because I do have a lot of experience, so it's something I could get a job in. But maybe something with some support as well with that, because not everywhere has that, but some facilities do. So maybe if there was a position open that had those supports. And then just seeing if there was something available and like kind of more similar to what I want to do when it comes to case management. That would be something I'd be interested in. So just kind of identifying what that might look like.
Okay. And what kind of steps would you take to identify those things in a new position?
I feel like a good Google search, but also like I can go on like facilities websites and like narrow it down. Like even if it comes to like long-term care, stuff like that. Even like the state's website, they have a whole bunch of different like facilities on there that are like state funded. Even if it's not like long-term care or senior living, they have them in other populations too. So kind of, I feel like looking on the websites that I know I'm interested in and like the agencies, I think to narrow it down would help.
Okay, yeah, and then that is something too that we can continue discussing as it goes on, just how that goes with what you're looking at and everything. So, talking a bit more about the interview tomorrow, how do you plan on ensuring these things with them too, like beyond just looking at the websites?
Yeah, I think for sure the first and foremost we'll kind of ask like what their day-to-day looks like. I think because I now know kind of what to look for, and like a big thing is like what does this position like ask, and like would I be in charge of like coming up with calendars as well as doing all the work that comes with it. So yeah, kind of just asking those questions, and like maybe just seeing like how their like supervisor does things, because the position would be like assistant activity director, so I would not be number one. So maybe seeing if it's even less than I'm doing now, so then maybe that could help other areas for sure. But yeah, just kind of making sure that I'm asking good questions and thorough questions specifically, so that I know kind of a good variety, and paying attention to how the environment is like upkept in that facility, because I know from facility it can be really good or really bad. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, those sounds like some really good steps that you can take to ensuring that these new positions have what you want. So going into our action steps then, I'm going to start writing some out. For our first one, I'm going to go ahead and put interview, since that's one you already have lined up and ready to go for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And even if you don't end up taking this one, I mean, I feel like it will still be, or this position, it'll still be very lucrative to when you're looking for another position. The interview is something that you'll always have to do anyway. So for our second one, what do you think it would be good to put, like, researching into the position, really just kind of going over everything you said, making sure it's similar, it has a good support system, and just looking at their websites and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that would be good. And even on top of that, to add like looking at like Glassdoor or like reviews that employees have said about the company, which I always take them with a grain of salt, but kind of just something to look for, especially maybe it could help me with like interview questions. So yeah, looking at like the website and then like looking at past experiences from other like former employees to know like, okay, maybe I can ask them about this thing that I saw on the website, but phrase it in a way that won't make them obvious to know that's what I'm asking. But yeah, to kind of check out the facility in that way. So I think it would be helpful to like look at their website as well.
Okay, yeah. I mean, using Glassdoor is something that is a very great resource. It's one that I honestly hadn't even thought of. So that one I think will be great for you to work with. I'll just put that with our research. And what would you think is like one more step that you would need to take with that for looking for this in this new position?
Honestly, even just circling back to my own job, making sure that I'm comfortable like leaving. I feel like that, even though like I am looking for another one, I think giving myself like the confidence to do that might be a challenge. So maybe just like working on self-confidence when it comes to like doing what's best for me, I feel like would be important when going into like a new job.
Yeah, that is, I mean, extremely important too. And not even just for going into a new job, but just how can you be sure that you'll be happy going into a new position if you aren't even happy with leaving the place you're at? So I really like that action step. So we'll put that as our third. Self-confidence and leaving current position. Okay, so then going kind of back over what we've talked about today a bit. We talked a lot about what we talked about last week with your current long-term, short-term goals. We identified the main problem, which is being the current position that you're at, causing a lot of stress and anxiety because of your workload. So then our general goal would be going into having a new position for you to be looking into, and which we already have one lined up, so that is great. For our MAPS goals, like what we would be looking into is just what the new position would look like, what kind of support system would they have, and is it similar to the current one you're in. And then for our action steps, we identified 1 being the interview for tomorrow and upcoming and future interviews. 2, research utilizing Glassdoor and other services like that to look into what the new position would be like. And as well as gaining more self-confidence in leaving the current position. Does that all sound accurate to you?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to kind of map it out, because I feel like it's just something that like sometimes I need just laid out. So having it all like that would be helpful. And I know even kind of identifying maybe like a new job was something I really hadn't thought about before a few days ago. But kind of looking at it from this perspective, I feel like it definitely could be a good thing. I feel like even though I'm like super comfortable where I am, sometimes comfortable isn't always the best, because it's definitely can add up. And I know that I want to go like further. So I feel like those are like, they make sense for what I want to achieve, especially.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. And not really wanting to go back a bit, but just you had mentioned that you're comfortable with where you are, but just even a few days ago you've started with the thought of leaving. How has that kind of caused you anxiety with that just in the last few days of thinking like, oh, maybe I do want to leave this position?
I think the biggest area for sure is just like from my coworkers, because I know they're always like, oh my gosh, like you're doing so good, like we love this from you, but it's like they're not helping in any capacity like they said they would. And so it's great to hear great feedback, but I think the one thing I've learned from this job is great feedback doesn't always mean it's a great environment. It's kind of like surface level. So yeah, I think it's definitely with my anxiety level, it's made me worried about like if I were to find a job that I felt like was a really good fit and I feel like paid me more, so it kind of alleviated a lot of that like financial stress that I have felt from other places. I feel like it just kind of thinking about leaving, it's just worried about having the motivation and the courage to actually be like, hey, here's my notice. And because my notice has to be for so long, that's something too, because I always have to give 30 days notice at like a facility, and especially because there's no other person in this position, and I was the first person in it. So like if they weren't to find someone in that 30 days, I would feel really bad. So, and especially my residents, so not even just my coworkers, but thinking about like, I know like I have formed a lot of trust with my residents, so making sure they've got someone coming behind me who could kind of keep that on. But I know even then, like I know probably what they would do, and like the activities assistant who would probably help alleviate a lot of that stress would be perfect for it anyway. So I feel like, yeah, kind of those action steps. That kind of raises my anxiety a little bit, but knowing there is probably someone who could help that transition is always a good thing.
And if they weren't to fill your position in that time, what do you think is the worst thing that could happen potentially?
I think the worst thing that could happen is those residents like just kind of keep to themselves and don't really like engage on like a level that they are right now. But I feel like a lot of people put me on some sort of pedestal when it comes to my job. But even from what I'm seeing, like I feel like those residents, I just know them and then know that like they are capable of way more than people are kind of assuming. So I have like confidence in them that even if I wasn't there, like it wouldn't just all go to waste. So I feel like that is something that's kind of comforting to me.
Yeah, and especially even if it gets kind of tough sometimes, I feel like that's just something you'll have to keep reminding yourself of, is that, I mean, like you said, somebody else can do this position, and from your perspective, the clients are more than perfectly able to go out and maybe form some of the activities you've already done with them, maybe do it on their own a little bit if nobody was there. So I think that's just something that we'll have to keep in mind, especially as we continue discussing. And by the time we meet next, we will talk a little bit more about how looking for a new position has gone and everything. But do you have any other questions for me?
I don't think so. I think that about covered it.
All right, great. Well, I will see you next time.
Yeah.